I don't wanna go to work, I just wanna chill and play all day. Look 'em dead in the face and say, I wish I could just be still asleep while you work.
Welcome to the Jobs Blow podcast with Briana and Josh.
The podcast for dreamers with day jobs.
We are so glad to be back here at the Comic Strip Live for yet another inspiring story from someone who's also pursuing their dream job.
Yes, Josh, because as the saying goes, when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
It's gotten so much better.
It is. I mean, we used to have this whole thing about, born out of frustrations, like blah, blah, blah. I could never memorize it. I usually screwed it up.
It always sounded like you were reading it.
Yeah, and honestly, I said to him, the show at its heart is about doing what you love and that you never work a day in your life.
Please comment if you like this open better than our old open, because if we get enough comments, then maybe we'll go back to it, but I don't think so. I think this is the one to stick with. So, how you doing, Briana?
I'm good. How are you, Josh?
I'm really good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, 2020, second episode of 2020. Here we go.
It's third.
Third?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Third episode of 2020.
We haven't aired the
Look
second
at us.
one yet.
We're so busy with this. How was your break? What are you up to now?
It was good. I just signed the letter.
You're the head coach of the Giants?
Yes.
All right.
For Michelle and Augustin.
All right.
And I actually announced it on social and forgot to send the letter back. So there's a little confusion.
All right.
He reached out and was like, so I understand through social that you've accepted. So
you're working for them
It's a good thing
full-time.
I'm in communications, right?
Yeah, I mean, that you're on top of it. I mean, look at right? Since the beginning of this whole venture, you were like jobless and then, auditioning, interviewing for jobs. And now here we are together on this journey. All of our guests, all of our audience has now seen you re-enter the workforce.
Well, and in irony of ironies, my first day of work,
Yeah.
the 20th of January, is almost 2 years to the day I was laid off from my last job.
Wow.
I was laid off on January 21st, 2018.
That is creepy. But you follow your dreams and your passions and your inspirations.
And what did I say all along? I will not work for another PR agency. I need to work in-house. Right. And
there you are.
I'm now.
But you did some, and you're writing. You posted another article today.
Yes, I did not write that. I mean, I wrote it and sent it, but a lot of it was. I didn't get paid for that.
Okay, but still, I'm glad to see you writing and blogging, because it is something that you do great. And if you look at the website and you look at our descriptions, I mean, 90% of them, you're writing those, so they're really great. And look, you follow your dreams and passions, you end up right back where you want to be. So I think
Fingers crossed.
Hey, come on, it's good cookies. Good cookies.
Good cookies.
Michelle and Augustine, thanks for the cookies.
And for sponsoring our show.
Josh,
great. Tell us about your
I had I'm like probably the only person that had the opposite of a relaxing holiday week. I literally did like 14 shows. I was running around, multiple shows, Drunk Shakespeare, stand-up, all over. But I also spent a ton of time with the fam, so we did a ton, But you know what, in a way, if there's a lot of work to do over the holidays in my line of work, performing, then fine. I'll do it. You know what I mean? Because there are slow times when other people have busy times, So I'll take it. It was awesome. It was an awesome week. It was a great way to end 2019.
And I also forgot to mention our last guest, Jana, who produced the Cirque du Soleil Christmas show.
Oh, you saw the show.
I saw that, and it was amazing. And because my child gets to benefit through my life experiences, she got to go on stage and ride down the ramp.
Oh my gosh, did she love that?
She was loving it.
I can't believe that closed. That should be around for
It was such
so
a
much
great
longer.
show, but it was a Christmas show. So.
All right, it's all good.
Okay,
anyway,
speaking of shows,
because we have another artiste and
another
singer coming on the show.
And so much more.
This week, you want to do the title?
Sure. So this week's show is called It's in Her Blood, with storyteller Shannon Denise Evans of Spectra rock band Savarre.
Is it Savarre?
That was awesome.
Did I get that all right?
That was awesome.
Okay.
It's spelled like it could be Savarre. So how do you spell it? Savarre?
Yeah, Savarre.
But it's pronounced
Savarre.
Savarre.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Hi,
well,
Shannon.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much
me
for
on.
being here. And we're super excited to have you now because you have so much going on to talk about. So let's jump right in with our HR questions. Josh, you want to start?
Sure. Okay, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
What is your
Born.
current job title?
My current job title, creator extraordinaire. How about that?
Okay. I like something else you said before we were
what did you
pre-talking.
say? Yeah,
what did you say?
What did you say in our pre-production?
Oh, multidisciplinary artist.
I like that. I like multidisciplinary artists.
I mean,
'cause
if
you
I
really
saw that
are.
on a
I was
resume,
attempting to be funny. Thanks a lot. No, thanks a lot.
if I saw that on a resume, I'd be like, hire this person. I don't understand what the fuck she does.
You
but
should put
she should do it for
extraordinaire
us.
at the end of that, because multidisciplinary is like, what multiple different things are you doing?
How much time do you have?
We have an hour, so
Okay,
let's
Right.
go.
Well, and
get it done.
the reason in the title we call her Storyteller is because at the heart, I think, of everything you do, you're a storyteller.
Yeah.
So first, though, before we jump too far, no, let's talk about it. So you have music coming out.
Yes, we have a EP coming out. It's our first EP. It's a Spectra rock EP, and it has 6 tracks, and they're all basically about stuff that I've been through. So my biggest focus is expression. So this is what I've been through. I'm going to turn it into art. Part of that is so that it resonates with people who read it. I think it's very healing, not to use a kumbaya term, but for lack of a better term, it's very healing and it's cathartic for other people to read something that they identify with or that they've been through that resonates with them. And that's really my goal as an artist, to take stuff that I've been through. Can I swear on this podcast?
Oh, did you not hear me? Yeah.
Just make sure. Take the
You
shit
have a
that
great
I've been,
laugh.
take the shit that I've been through and really channel it. It's very cathartic for me, and I really believe that most art any type of artistry is an alchemy medium. I
Okay.
don't think it's just. I don't think that people sit down and go through something and it's not experiential. For example, take Game of Thrones. Like, those people are like at a fever pitch for, oh my God, and then this happened to this character. I'm so angry, you know?
Right.
And that passion that they feel is because they identify with certain characters. Like, I'm going through that same struggle, or I feel oppressed in my marriage, job, XYZ, whatever. That's why I think artistry is so powerful. So I talk a lot about this on social media. It's like, you know, there's a lot of misfits out there who don't have a home, whether it's corporate America or their artistry. They're trying to be pigeonholed, and that's not who they actually are.
Right.
So my whole hashtag is Misfits by Storm.
I love that.
Like, if the Misfits need a queen, I'm here, bitches. You know?
I almost feel like maybe we need a new theme song. I feel like you might be a good new theme song.
Well, we're
for our
definitely
show.
putting one of her songs at the
Yeah,
end of the episode.
yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Misfits by Storm is great. What are the other multidisciplinary storytelling things that you are doing?
I'm an author and a novelist, and the difference basically between those two things, I have a nonfiction book out, which is about personal alchemy and the 4 elements. So everybody has a driving element. Mine's fire. Are you shocked?
No,
Are you confused?
not shocked.
Is
Okay.
that based on birth, right? Your birth month?
No. No. This is just like in life.
It's
You know,
just who
you-
she connects
you
to,
meet
or what she
you
connects
meet somebody and you're like, oh, that person's really grounded, very earthy
Okay.
person.
What am I? Based on the time
I
we've
would
spent
say you're
together?
fire.
I would think
I would
so
say you're
too.
fire. He's very, to me, very like air and water.
Interesting.
You've
Trying to
got some
put me
fire.
out,
You've
Josh.
got
You're
some
always
fire.
trying to
Well,
put me
here's
out.
what's funny.
And your air just makes me get like
Wow,
wilder.
she's just pointing at me like aggressively. If there was
is
no
a
audio-
little aggressive,
we're,
isn't she?
We're gonna
She's
mute
up
this,
in
and
your
so you
grill,
can just
boy.
see the pointing and the fire.
It's
coming
my
at me.
flames.
So that's called What the Mountains Know, and that's essentially just like your personal journey of what is your element, what is your alchemy, and it's all driving to what is your core expression,
Right.
which is everything I do is what is my core expression. So this whole EP, back to your original question, is all about the core things that I was working on as a person. This is deep psychology. This isn't, and no disrespect to any of that type of music, because some of it's really fucking awesome. It's not like, 2 lines and 2 beats.
Right.
This is experiential. The rhythms mean something. The band members put their hearts into it and things they were going through. There was a lot of acting exercises going on in the studio. Like, we have some like really rock and roll cello shit that goes down. And I told her, I said, use your cello to talk to the last person that you broke up with. And the shit that came out of her, I was like, we were in the booth going, what? I mean, she was doing the strings like, and angry, and she put the cello on a chair, and she blew up the studio. It was like,
Did
insane.
is she part of the band?
no, I
just
just love
guessed?
creepy shit.
Oh, okay.
So I like to bring in weird instruments that don't do what they're supposed to do. Like, you wouldn't necessarily know that some of that stuff's cello.
Right,
It's
right.
textural. I love creepy shit in music. Like, what is that? almost like the lights are low and you're like, did something just run across the hallway? That kind of vibe where you're creeped out. I like to put it in the music.
So is that part of Spectra rock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like who puts a cello
describe
in a rock piece?
Spectra
tell us
rock.
about
like what is Spectra rock?
I mean, that's basically Shannon not wanting to be pigeonholed, to be honest with you, which is basically what we're talking about
Right.
here.
Did you
It's
coin
like-
that term, or
yeah,
is that a
it's
term?
like,
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
That's your thing.
I mean, I don't want to say that's a really arrogant, narcissistic thing to say. I coined it, but like,
Well, you and Al Gore. He did the internet. You did Spectra rock.
that was funny.
Thank you.
No, I was like, we had talked a little bit about this. I've seen other female-led bands specifically. I have some really amazing counterparts that are really exploring themselves, and they get a record deal, and they put out an EP usually on their own, and then they get a record deal and put out a second, and all their fans are like, oh, the second one sucks. It's like, well, it doesn't. It's just the artist is growing. The artist went through something else in those years. Right. They even did it. I mean, Adele's stuff does
Right, and
really
then the
well.
audience doesn't know exactly, and that's like why you listen to them, so you can see what journeys they're on.
Well, if it's like, metal, and then the person puts out a jazz album, but that's truly part of their expression.
Right.
What the fuck is wrong with
Well,
that?
isn't that part of the sophomore slump? That's usually the album that comes out second.
Yeah, and
to your point,
sometimes
people.
that's right, and
Yeah.
sometimes that maybe that's deserved. I really think judging another artist is a very tricky thing to do.
Right.
And, I don't know if the comments are going to blow up on this, but like, I really try not to do that because you don't know what people are going through. I rip my fucking guts out to write this EP. I mean, I ripped my guts out. I cried in the studio. I broke down. Our producer was like, take a break. Like, I mean,
How long did it take you to record and write it? And
honestly, longer than it probably should have, because I wrote songs and then we would record them, and I'm like, this isn't quite right. I mean, it's a great song and I'll use it later, but it's like either not quite right for the EP's Blood, and I'm going to do 3 EPs, Blood, Ash, and Dust. And they're basically my personal development. It's like the blood part of it is what's in your blood, right? The ash part is
It's in her blood.
Right?
Name of the show.
Yes, girl. The ash part of it is what do you burn down to figure out who you are? Because that's the hardest part, is scorching shit that you're not.
Right.
Wow.
And it's hard. And then the dust is like, well, what's left do you build something out of?
I love that.
That's the plan for the 3 EPs.
So it's almost like you're not writing one album or one book or
It's
one
an arc,
story.
for sure.
You're writing the whole arc at the same time, which I don't know that.
Much to my producer's chagrin, he's like, can we just finish
just one of them. But like, if you think about it too, like, like, I don't know.
Thank you,
I mean,
Alex Vanier.
Because you also, and I don't know why I'm like, I'm obsessed with this, but you have this 4-part novel that you're also working on, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
that's like fantasy based and everything. But if like you think about some of these, it's, well, you'll tell us about it. But if you think about some of these, like, like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing, he's writing elements that he's thinking about for later in the series, but he's putting in earlier on in the
100%,
story.
100%.
Or things that he doesn't realize are going to pay off later when he's like, oh, okay, that was an
Exactly.
earlier element. I'm going to bring that back now. So it's cool to see from that creative standpoint of you telling one whole story at the same time. It just where everything falls isn't necessarily has been told yet or has been figured out yet.
100%. Yeah, it's totally fair. And I love what you're saying, because I think that all artistry is layered. So I think that when someone hears or experiences something, they're going to pick the bit that resonates with them. The whole enchilada may not. Baklava is one of my favorite things in the world.
Right.
All those little layers. It's like some people might like the middle bit that's a little softer. Some people might like the crunchy bit.
Right.
You just have to know as an artist that the truer you are to the layers of you, the more they'll resonate with somebody who's going to be
Right.
experiencing that.
Right,
So-
that's the thing. It's connect with yourself and your own
100%.
story, and forget about the rest
Outside,
of the shit.
yeah. And my
yeah.
question to you is, how do you decide, since you are multidimensional, what you want to put down in a book and what you want to,
Oh, that's a good question.
to write and make music?
It's a great question. To me, what I've learned to do, so the novel series I've been writing for 9 years, because it's 4 books. The first one's 140,000 words. That's 626 pages.
Holy shit.
We actually have an Excel spreadsheet that doesn't even fit on a 32-inch screen of the world, the characters, how they interact, plots, things, and we had to. I've rewritten the book 4 or 5 different times because.
All right, how many drugs you need to take to do that?
No,
how could you even keep that in your peripheral?
That's a lot.
You
of
have a wall
matcha
like
lattes.
it. What is
That's
that?
a lot of
What is-
baklava
what
right
is
there.
the Claire,
It's a lot of
the Claire-
baklava.
The Claire Danes show. I picture her wall.
Hostage.
No.
Oh yeah.
Homeland.
Homeland. I picture that's
yes,
your wall.
we do that.
That's your
We
wall.
do the wall.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my God, I love that you said that. What happened in the yellow? What happened in the yellow?
So wait, the book, the book that we're talking
Velvet
about
Moon
now,
Chronicles. Yeah,
and
the
that
series
comes out when?
The first book comes out February of 2020 towards the end of the month, and that's the first book. And then the other ones will be a lot easier because the world's built. I
Okay.
just have to write it. But I learned from J.K. Rowling, who said to all writers, she had a grid that she did by hand, which is online. You can see it's amazing.
Right.
And she talked about how she built the worlds for 5 years before she really put pen to paper. And I loved what she said. Somebody was like, oh, you're a genius, which she clearly is. But she goes, don't get confused, darling.
Right.
She said, I met Harry. He showed up to me, and it was very similar for me. I had a dream about this series,
Right.
and I ignored it. And a friend of mine was like, hey, that dream that you told me the other day, she goes, something. And she's just not like a woo-woo
Right.
person like
Right.
that. So I was like, okay, linear diva, really?
Linear diva.
She was like, yeah, you got to focus on this.
Is that a negative thing?
No, but you know what I mean?
That's a
Like,
great
she's
By the way,
not
if you're a
kind of
kid out
person
there,
to have a kumbaya moment.
let's not call people by like physical things. If you're gonna you need an insult, just go, you're linear. You're just so fucking linear.
Why don't you try being perpendicular?
Why don't you
damn it?
try? Yeah. How about a little
Cross your streams, bitch.
2 dimensions for once in your
You know,
life?
right?
I'm not even gonna tease 3 dimensions on
Yeah.
your ass.
All right, so you have a big year coming up.
Yeah, it's huge. The single comes out on the 14th, the first one, which is called Unbeautiful. And we're releasing actually the singles, and then we'll release the full EP. The full EP in order actually is a story. If you were to take the lyrics, I won't tell the secret, the Easter egg. But if you were to take the lyrics and lay them out, there's actually a thread through them. I'm super geeky like that.
No, I love that. I
Tool
love
does
that shit. Wait,
I'm so geeky.
Just lie
and
if
the
this
book,
isn't
and
the right
And the
answer.
book and the EP are tied
that's what I was
together.
gonna say. Is the book tied into the EP? Can you listen to the
smart.
music
You
while you
smart.
listen to the book? I'm already.
I think you need
I'm
drugs
already
to
hooked.
do that.
No,
Listen to the music, man.
You could, but it's not really designed that way. It's
not
more
quite the
about
wall
the
and-
journeys.
right.
So, at some point, you could map a song to a character arc in the book.
Really? Yeah. And where can people
And I did
find
that by
these?
accident, actually.
Really?
Kind of, sort of.
no, you didn't.
I-
Because you're
but
telling one
it's-
story.
Well, and I'm one person, so of
Right.
course you're
Right.
going to exercise the same
Right.
demons, and then the demons are like, "Hey, this demon over here, he's my buddy," and you're like, "Fuck yeah, you guys go together," you know?
All right, can I just vent one thing real quick because it
Totes.
kind of goes along
Bring
with this,
it.
and we were talking about it this week with the whole Star Wars and everything coming out, and everybody's got complaints and opinions and everything about like.
Did you watch
Rise of Skywalker.
Mandalorian?
I did. All right, and I loved it. And my problem with like the whole thing of these last 3, as much as I like elements of all of them, you can say whatever you want about George Lucas, right? But like at least the prequels and then the main ones, right? They were all basically out of one guy's head,
Right.
And the problem with these last 3 is they're all individually fine movies and entertaining and have
Right,
story
right.
bits that I like, but it's like 3 different cooks in the kitchen or 2 because JJ came back, and then Disney got involved and they had opinions, as opposed to like, George, you should have just made all 9, then sold the whole fucking
Right.
thing and let him do the Mandalorian and all of that stuff. So it's refreshing to know, even Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, it's all came out of one person's periphery. So,
So
for
to Josh's
you,
point,
I
don't
love that.
don't turn your
sell it.
stories over to anybody.
Oh, believe me.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
say that now?
No. I have already said no to that demon.
There you go.
It has to be, and I want to be really careful about some of this terminology. It has to be on my creative terms, because I'm the kind of artist, if I'm in an environment where I'm not supported, I don't. I can perform well under pressure, like we all can, but when I don't have creative freedom, I suffer. I mean,
Right.
emotionally, and I'm not going to do that to myself anymore.
Which
you
is
can't
part
be
of your whole
creative.
misfit.
Yeah.
The whole misfit thing.
And
right?
honestly, if I don't think creatives should have to suffer. I think that we suffer enough, and we use our artistry to express that and to bring other people along that path on that journey. And I don't think that we should be asked to continue to suffer while we're exposing the suffering we've already been through. I think
Right.
it's too
Oh my
much.
God. I want to pontificate on that, and I'm not gonna, because I'm just gonna get in trouble.
Okay, right.
But
You
good
can
job.
pontificate.
No,
No.
hold on. We gotta stay
Can
on
I
course.
just echo
we already
whatever?
had the Star Wars
Wait,
input.
thanks, Brianna. Why don't
I'm
you
kidding.
quiet your mouth
I'm
now?
kidding.
Listen, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say, in lieu of saying it, what Shannon just said will be my official answer on that. Awesome. Thank you for saying that.
welcome.
Thank you.
So, Shannon, while we're talking about all this, let's go back to the next HR question, which
Great.
is this your dream job?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I will be honest and say that I'm not 100% supporting myself doing this stuff, but it is really my goal to get there. And I honestly think a lot of that is about resonance. I think money is, there's a reason it's called currency. It's a current, you know, and if you're in the slipstream of what you really love to do, I do think not to go like all, you know, new agey with it. Not that there's anything wrong with new agers, but you know, there is that aspect of it. Like when you're in the slipstream of what you're supposed to be doing, I do think that you create a buzz around you and it gets electric and you do attract stuff. Like I have people that I haven't talked to in 10 years who are like, you know, you popped into my mind and I know so-and-so, would they help you? And I'm like, yeah, they would fucking help, you know? You would call it random, but then it doesn't feel random. So I think when you're in your slipstream and you're in your true expression, and which is a lot what Mountains is about, I think you kickstart something. There's a co-creative atmospheric thing that happens from an alchemical standpoint, and it's like you two. You kind of like when you met, when you were telling that story, it's like there was something there was a buzz, and then this electricity, and you co-created something. I think that's how it works. I have amazing collaborators. I'm so blessed, and so yeah, it is my dream job, and I would say like the bulk of like what supports this stuff is I do branding and design, and help people figure out who they are. And I love that too. But if I were to be honest, I would say ultimately I would, if the music and the performing and the writing would probably be like my full-time dream, you know,
Dream job.
that would be my dream job.
Which leads to the next question, because you obviously have a day job.
Yeah. Well,
Tell
I mean,
us-
Just for the record,
it's my
yeah,
company.
ish.
The buzzing
Yeah.
between us was that she wouldn't answer my call. She always had it on vibrate, so I was always calling her.
Oh, snap.
Oh, so it's a little bit like
Oh,
turn
it's a
on, but
little
also
dirty.
like
It's a
just I
little
don't want to talk to
dirty.
him.
This is the
kind of thing.
vibration I enjoyed in my pocket. I didn't
I
care.
need to say that for 3 minutes.
Minutes.
So tell us about a job that you've had that
In
blew.
the past, like a
That
corporate,
blew.
oh my God.
Or a moment at a job.
I
A job
worked
that blew.
I worked for a major corporation and was very young when I started. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say intern, it was paid. But what ended up happening is the person that I was working for was actually moving his entire family from Australia. So I was doing his job during the day because of the time difference. So he'd like email me and I'd go in the morning and I'd go sit in these meetings and be like, so-and-so needs this.
Right. And weren't you only 19,
I
you
was
said?
19.
Jeez.
But I can't say names, but I'm in, like, these are household names that I'm in a meeting with. And I don't know any better because I wasn't raised to be like afraid or timid. I was just like, yeah, bitches, this is my bullet points.
Like you're sitting here, I'm sitting here. Clearly, we're gonna have a conversation.
I'm fucking whiteboarding with like household names.
Top executives.
And they're all like this. So it went really great. He moved, and then it was like I kind of had a taste of something delicious, and then it was like, well, no, go back to what you're hired to do. And it just, I was like, no,
Which was
no.
HR, right?
Yeah,
Ironically?
originally HR. But a creative version of it. It was actually really cool at the time.
So why did it blow? What was the blow part?
Well, I'm getting there. So after it was sort of pushed down, he went, got promoted right away. He's an amazing rock star, awesome dude. And I got put under someone else, this woman who, I mean, from the minute I walked into her office, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
She had it out for me. She didn't want to hear my ideas. Like very shaming. I would go in, anything I wore, she would make a comment. She would show up in the bathroom, like in the stall, like it was like a movie. So
Wait, what?
I'm in the stall and like click, click, click. And she would stand in the bathroom, like at the mirror while I psycho. And then I would open the door and she'd be gone, but she would like follow me around the building.
What?
It was so
How
fucking
old was
weird.
this woman?
Like 50 something. So I went
Did
to
you ever like figure it out or?
no,
Get an
I went to HR and I said, so I made friends with this one girl who's awesome. And she was like, She goes, girl, she got problems. And I said, I was like, well, what is her issue? She's like, she don't like you. And I was like, oh, well, clearly. She's like, she's intimidated or whatever.
Well, to put things in perspective,
horrifying.
you are gorgeous. Dark hair, light eyes, beautiful big lips.
you.
Like this woman.
Wait, time out.
she was-
I'm usually the
I
one
know,
that describes people, but it looks like we got a little girl.
No.
Girl
My
crush.
point is, you.
Hey, it's mutual.
You,
It is,
you
it's
were
hot.
you were like
I'm just an
her,
observer.
You were like her Snow White. She legit. She was. Who was the bad woman? The
the
witch?
evil queen.
The queen.
Maleficent?
Sent
Yeah,
the
she's-
huntsman.
Yeah.
Mephilisant?
No, that's Sleeping Beauty.
Sorry.
But anyway, like you were her Snow White. She was like intimidated.
But
by
I
you.
was at such a young age. I didn't really understand that dynamic because
Sure.
of what we talked about,
Sure.
like growing up very
Yeah,
unattractive.
which we're going to
with the
go into
birthmark
that.
and-
Yes.
So my point is that was not in
Not
my
in your head.
It's still not
No.
in my purview. So when women shade me, I'm like, Diva, I'm here for you, and they're like, bitch, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not a bitch, but I think with the look sometimes it's like, oh. So I had a boss one time say to me, she's like, goes, whatever, prom queen, and I was like, I was never invited
Again,
to prom.
a
Actually.
woman.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It goes
but
to show
similar,
you.
I've never had a female like manager in my entire anytime I was in corporate America that ever was for me. Or,
Here.
and this
I
is
haven't
we
really
talked about
either.
this earlier. I have no time for women who do not love and support other women. We need each
Amen.
other. It's hard enough, especially in corporate America. Like, get the fuck over it.
Oh yeah.
Can
It
I just
doesn't
say,
matter
and
how
look-
hot she is or beautiful. Support her,
Yeah.
even if you don't like her, because our solidarity is what we need.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
I think in general, I mean,
Well, yeah,
like, you know,
humanity
but
needs to unite, but like,
there's just like no room for
Women
pushing
are
people
brutal.
down
No.
in any kind of work or collaborative.
I have no
Look,
time.
you could call art or whatever, but even like in corporate situations, you're collaborating, you're working together. Why would you make people feel uninspired by pushing them down? Would that work? They work harder. Whoever fucking worked harder
Well, and the hard
in that
thing,
situation.
the hard thing too is when you are an attractive woman, and I'm not saying I am, but you
you are.
get that shit from women.
I
and
think
then,
you're both
and then,
very attractive.
And then and,
You're welcome.
And then, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
But then you
Never even accepts compliments
okay,
from
hold
me.
on. But you get that from the women,
We
and then you're
high-fived.
getting harassed by men. And it's like,
well, that's a whole
and
other
it's
thing.
and it's like you can't
but
win.
there are elements
because
of
you
them
think you're
holding
gonna
you down too.
No. But
Yeah.
you think you can have an ally maybe in
Oh,
the
right,
male,
right, yes.
and then it's like that
No.
their motives are different, and you can't fucking win.
And that's a lot of times I think how I felt. You know, and I see it a lot in show business too. I'm also a performer and an actor, a dancer, whatever, and I see that in class sometimes, where it's kind of like, you know, and you're like, that diva just turned it out.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm
Right.
like, everybody's making fun of me because I'm like, wow, you know, like, hello, you know,
Yeah.
if you've been rejected to 25 auditions, by the time you drag your tired ass to class, you feel so low.
yeah.
The least that other people in
It's the
class can
cheerleading.
do is
It's the
yes.
cheerleading. I had an audition for a Shakespeare play recently, and I don't often audition
Those
for
are
Shakespeare.
brutal.
and it was scary preparing for it. And I had a friend from the show that I'm in now watch me and just kind of give me some notes. And like maybe it was the shittiest practice, maybe it was the worst rendition of that monologue. But I walked out of that literal 10 minutes with him feeling like I could audition for the Public Theater, the Globe, because of what I did. He was just like, that was awesome. That's exactly what we should do. I don't know if it was awesome, but I'm just saying is that cheerleading, that like supporting of like, you got this, go for it, is so much more reassuring and like confidence building than anything else like these stories
Yeah.
you're saying could be, of putting people down, not clapping, not supporting. It's like ludicrous to even think that even exists.
Or at auditions, you know the
Why are
shit
you bringing up
get.
rapper Ludacris? I'm just kidding.
Wow. Now she's the funny. We're all switching roles here.
Come on now.
This is crazy. Wait, I do want to say that that I forgot what I want to say. I just what do you do? Something you said before when it comes to like creating and being 19 and like, you know, some of these issues is noise. How do you, when you're writing, you're creating, you're doing so many different things, you're tapping into your soul, which is what you're saying. How do you tune out the noise, the commentary,
That's an awesome
life,
question.
all of that?
And actually, I had pretty severe ADD as a kid.
Okay.
But the weird thing is, I didn't have it when I was doing something I loved. Like, if it was dance or I was a figure skater for a long time, it was like to the
Right.
point where my mom was like,
Is that OCD?
It's a little bit like-
Is that like OCD?
I don't know, but I get a little like, must eat brains. You know what I mean?
Right.
My editor laughs at me. He's like, machete, because I get in this mode and he's like, hello. this is going to sound weird. It's a channel. It's like you get into a channel and you're kind of a co-pilot, and I like auto write almost. It's with music too. The poetry of those songs I basically wrote in 2 days. And then knowing I was going to do Blood, Ash, and Dust, what made me choose one song over the other was thematic. Like, this is not an honest piece for what Blood is about, and I had to hold myself to it, and it was really hard. So I ended up recording on and off over a year, which is not how you would normally do something like that. The book took 9 years. Right. But I also think it served the material, and I think when it comes out, I get made fun of sometimes on social media. They're like, seriously, like another 2 months? So I finally had to do a post on the Velvet Moon site. I was like, you guys, it's coming. Right. I've been writing this for 9 years, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can, and I think that's all I can really say.
So did Velvet Moon come out 9 years ago?
No, I've been writing it for 9 years. I've been designing it. It's the
February.
first
book. Oh, no, your
is,
first book that you wrote. When did you write that?
Mountains came out a year and a half ago.
Oh, so you wrote that in the middle. You're doing
Yes.
Wow.
Because it was like
That's impressive.
You are multi-dimensional. I won't argue with that.
That alchemy piece of it took me over, and I was like, I want to write about when you find your true expression, what it feels like. And I had so many people around me, artists, and I had a lot of people around me that were in pain at the time. And I don't mean like necessarily, all kinds of different pain. And they were like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It was just a theme I had in my life. And I was like, I'm going to write about this and how I'm feeling, and just send it out in the world.
Is that fiction? What kind of
No,
book
it's nonfiction. It's like a New Earth, Eckhart Tolle. Like it's not that, but it's in that, I would say it's in that like developmental self-development, kind of a self-motivation.
Kind of like our show.
Phase.
I like that.
It's very uplifting. And, I wrote a letter to anybody who reads it. Maybe there's one person who reads it at the end that just says, there's blood in this writing. Like, I'm writing this because I know what it's like to not have a place and not know how to manage all of the different, we're all really, everybody's got their own unique, beautiful talent that no one else can do.
Mm-hmm. Taylor Dane said that.
It's true. And that's why the whole competitiveness between women in show business really bothers me. When you're in an audition, it's like, we talked about this, like if you have the pieces of pizza, the way it works is not, oh, you have a piece of pizza, therefore there's one less for me. That's not what I believe it actually is. I think that you got a piece of pizza and you like, this is awesome, I'm going to make 10 more. And when you're in your circle of influence, I just wrote about something about this, like, be careful who your circle of influence is, because they will influence you, positive or negative.
Right.
But their successes create a buzz, and that electricity goes on to you and vice versa. So I've had a lot of people who are like, I quit my fucking job because or I've said to them, you know what? I wrote a song. I wasn't writing my own music 2 years ago. I did an album full of covers. Really? And then I was frying eggs, and I was like, fuck it. And I wrote a song called Burn This City, and it was awesome. And I took it to the band, and they were all like, this is dope. He's like, this is fucking dope. And I said, okay, well, if it's dope, let's do some more. And they totally went with me, and we are where we are now.
Speaking of which, what does Savarre mean? What is that? What is it?
The short answer is it's basically about the light and the dark within us all. It's a made-up word, but it's the derivatives of the word are like, what is the light, what is the dark? And a lot of people are very, ooh, you have to be positive all the time. It's like, you know what, that's not the truth. Right. In fact, I think your happiness is predicated by how dark you've been in your life. I don't think the height of your happiness
as we are at the comic strip where all comedy comes from. Is
like, I don't think the height of your happiness, I think you have a ceiling if you haven't gone to the depths of your low. Because you don't, and that's what Spectra Rock's about. Because I'm exploring there's some dark shit themes in some of these songs.
Right, which is what I want to talk about. I want to make sure we go there. So let's talk about what inspired Unbeautiful, because I think we love to talk about journeys, and I think this probably is a huge piece of your journey to where you are now.
Beautiful's the album.
Unbeautiful's the first single.
Sorry.
The EP is Blood. That's okay. I still love you.
Okay. I listened to all of them that were online. And I was cooking, not frying, baking. So there you go. So I listen to all.
Awesome. And you loved them.
I did. I actually really loved them, and I know how I see on your bio. If you go on her website, you can see how she's described, music-wise. But I got a sense of, and also now sitting with you and looking at, how you present yourself as well. That it's like it's like Evanescence meets like Joan Jett a little bit to me. It felt a little like rock in that respect. But some of the tunes and the soft sides were definitely more like an Evanescence.
Yeah, I also say sometimes like Fleetwood Mac meets Alanis Morissette. There's a little bit of that angry,
Sure.
You should open for Alanis. Get in on that.
She is so awesome.
She is.
She's fucking fantastic.
So
Unbeautiful.
Yes.
Unbeautiful was inspired by growing up with a port wine stain on the right side of my face, which was pretty dominant and basically the color of an eggplant. So you can imagine how fun that was. Horribly teased, really cruel, no acceptance, no support, really socially. My parents were awesome. My family was great. I was never shamed for it, but it wasn't like, I didn't understand the whole, I just made the cheer team, I'm hot. Like, none of that whole, I'm going to prom, giggle, who's going to homecoming. Like, I wasn't a part of that. So most of the dances, I would go help everybody get ready, and then I would stay with the moms.
Oh.
And they would all go, oh, yes.
What did you say to them when they were like, you should go too? Or,
there was no you should go
Oh,
to, because there
wasn't.
was no guy who wanted to go with me. I mean, it was pariah status for real. So I'd
Any
be like,
parents that are listening to this right now, freaking teach your kids to be respectful of other children.
It was a little
with
weird now
their
that
differences.
Now that I think about it, I had one friend who was my best friend in 5th grade, and her mother at one point called my mother and like cut off her and my hanging out. We were like tight,
Wait, why?
Because she didn't want it to reflect on her.
She said, I'm nervous that whatever Shannon has, that so-and-so's going to contract it. Yeah.
Stop.
True story.
Can you explain what it is so the audience knows?
A port wine stain is a birthmark, basically. It's it's like a vascular it's kind of like it's malformed. It wasn't like, out to here or anything, but it's definitely like a raised eggplant colored. I'm sure everybody's seen birthmarks. They come in varying. There's strawberry marks. There's lighter ones. This was incredibly dark and invasive, so it was all the way down here above my lip.
I had a friend growing up that had something similar.
Yeah, I was pretty hell-bent on keeping it. It kind of became my warrior banner. I was like, Braveheart, you know what I mean? I was like, fuck you.
It's your part of your identity.
And
it's
then,
what made you who you were.
After I got injured, quit skating, and then I had to quit skating, and then I got into theater because I wasn't getting out of bed. My mom was like, this is not my child. And she dragged me and she threw me into this theater program audition when I was like 14 or something.
Right.
And I didn't even fucking know what a monologue was or character shoes. And there were all these requirements. So I took a Madonna song.
Which one? Which one?
Oh, Father.
Oh.
Do you know that one?
I remember it.
Father,
Yeah.
na. Anyway, I got my blocks, the black blocks in the black box, you know what I mean? And I made the coffin and I did the whole thing. It was horrifying. But the woman's like, I don't know very many people who could make that work. Right. And so I got into the program, but she's like, we're going to teach you what a monologue is. I didn't know. I was like, I just did my own thing.
You were like Billy Elliot dancing in
But this is so
Royal
me.
Ballet.
I mean, I guess I could have gone to the library, but I was like, I got this.
Right.
So I did my monologue. I got in, and the rest is history in terms of, I found my tribe. I remember the first day of this program, and she's, bless her soul, she's passed, Anne Graham. I will never forget, ash out to here, cigarette, this like terrible building in Seattle, horrible part of town. She's like, yeah, it's going to be a good summer. I mean, this ash is this long with the nails and the whole nine and the hair.
Right.
And everybody started coming in, and a lot of them knew each other. And I was like, I just started weeping. I was like, these are my people. Mm-hmm. And we started with Alexander technique, and I was like, I thought they were all little nuts, but then you're before you know it, you're into it. And then we did Suzuki and like all this shit. So it was like I was sold. But that experience put me in my first show, and I had to cover up my birthmark because it wasn't character-wise. It really wasn't appropriate. So I was introduced to Dermablend. So
wait. Just clarify for me for a second, because are you wearing the Dermablend now? Because forgive me, but like I don't see it.
I am not.
So you don't have it anymore.
I do not. Well, it's in the process of being removed for medical reasons. The port wine stains are sort of tricky. They vascular malformations have a mind of their own, and they can sort of go rogue. So you can have changes in skin texture. You can have the vascular system continue to grow. You can have they can actually be pretty dangerous when they're that close to your brain. Mine is very close to my eye. Oh. So unfortunately, even though it was sort of my badge of honor, which I fought it for a year, we decided with one of the premier dermatologists in the city who specializes in port wine stains to remove it with laser.
So how long ago was that? Did you start having it removed?
It's been like 9 years. It's a very, very slow process. Wow. It's painful. And the laser, they were pretty crude when I started, and they couldn't actually control the amount of the strength of it.
Really?
There's a new laser coming out in 2 years that actually was developed on me. I agreed to, well, it's expensive, so I agreed to be a guinea pig, just, being real.
Just your face.
And it's just, I trust it. I mean, he's like the premier, the guy.
I mean, your face, I don't see anything.
I wouldn't even know
Nothing.
At all,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is it the one where they put the needle in and it's heated or laser, something like that?
No, that's something different, but it's amazing that you know that. Yeah. No, this is a laser that combines radio frequency and basically cell destruction. So it's sort of like taking fingernail polish off a nail. Technically, the nail is still there, but the sort of color is gone from it, if I understand it correctly. So the new laser that they've been working on, I mean, when he first came with the new laser, it was like still being built. It had stuff welded onto it. They wheeled it in. I was like, what spaceship shit is this?
What?
Like, it seriously, I mean, it was very, very crude.
And it's painful?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
And did you know it would take that many years?
No, I had no idea. But they do it very carefully. It's methodical. I'm also, an actress too. So, the downtime I couldn't always afford. So he would be like, okay, I'm going to, do a mini blast. It's been really hard. And even when it still shows if I don't have makeup on, and it doesn't take a lot to cover it, just normal powder now. But if I'm out and about in the neighborhood, I mean, kids will still ask or look. People will still make comments.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy because I literally see nothing.
Yeah, and I don't really like quote unquote cover it up anymore. It's just natural makeup. It's really light. It darkens if I'm really cold or pissed off. So I have a lot of friends.
Oh, I have a birthmark here that does that.
Who call it the mood ring.
The mood ring, I was just going to say.
When I'm like in a fuck you mood, the part above my lip is totally gone, but it will come back if I'm really mad.
Funny.
Well, screw those people, those stupid people. Anyway, let's go back to what we were talking about. So anyway.
Had you sung before you?
Yeah, I mean, I sung in church and choir in school, but I wasn't trying to make a career out of it. I didn't think I was particularly good, to be honest. I thought I was okay. I'm a fierce harmonizer, but I was just like, I was like, oh, that's so-and-so's the soloist. You know how you get part of it as
you're used
the look
to being
thing.
in the background.
I also think that to be honest with you, I think some of the choir directors didn't want to put me in front because it's like, I'm serious. That shit goes down. So after I discovered Dermablend,
How old are you at this time?
Like 15 and a half, 16.
Okay.
We went out after a show. And keep in mind, I mean, I looked the same at 16. So if you're walking by a bar, a guy's not, teenager.
Right.
That was the first time that I got really catcalled because I had all my I had show beat on. You know what I mean? Right. So I had like lashes and shit. And I walked by and it was like, yeah. And feeling that energy was completely foreign to me. It was overnight. I'm not kidding. It was overnight. I was ugly and weird. And then I was like hot. And I didn't understand it at all. I found it very disconcerting and it hurt my feelings very deeply.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was like, what the fuck was wrong with me before, dick? Excuse my language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've been the same person.
Yeah.
Can you share that little bit about what your mom had said to you? Because that I thought was really interesting.
When I was 8, I had gone to recess and I got tricked. This is in my book, actually, in my novel. A guy said to me, the hottest guy, I won't say his name.
Say his name. Fuck this guy.
His name was Ben, but I won't say his last name. Anyway, he was like, hey, meet me after school. And it was like
You were 8?
Yeah. And he was like stunning and all the girls were like, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, meet me after school in this little foresty area, right? Like the naughty area outside the recess with it, the monkey bars. Yes.
I mean, I shouldn't say that. I was kissing boys in elementary school.
A lot of people were losing it in middle school. They were losing.
Oh yeah, my best friend lost it in 7th grade.
See, Diva?
Please stop telling me this.
No, now that you have a daughter, it's terrifying, isn't it? It's freaking terrifying.
So he's like, meet me after school. So I go and I meet him. and he's got me backed up against a tree, and I'm like, this is really weird. And he's like, close your eyes.
Oh no, I'm gonna not like this story.
I'm gonna kiss you. And I was like, I don't even know if I really knew what that meant.
Right.
But I was like, and then I get slapped, and he has a handful of dog shit, and he smears it on my face.
Oh my God.
And he goes, now both sides of your face look like shit, you ugly little
Oh
bitch.
no,
This is true. Yes.
But who is his mother? I'm fucking calling her
no,
now.
It's better.
Give me her number.
All of his friends and people that I thought were my friends were hiding in the forest, and they thought it was so funny. They all came out. And I took a picture. It's on my phone to this day. I drove by that school the last time I was in Seattle, and I took a picture of that same little forest for myself.
Where is he,
It's
though?
still
Do you know
there.
where he is? Tell me he's a loser.
I don't
need to
know.
know that this guy's a loser.
That kind of shit.
people who are
I don't
with-
know what parents do or were supposed to do, whatever. But if that happened to one of my kids, there would be no
I think
let's make this a lesson. I'm going to that kid's parents'
Yeah.
Well, my
fucking
mom,
house.
okay, and this is a whole other fucking topic. My mom is a psychotherapist, and I emphasize the first word of that. God bless. But it was a little kumbaya, her response to it. I'm sure she had to hold my dad back. But the main story of that is I went the next morning after the story. I said to my mom, I was like, who's stunning. I said, I'm sorry that I'm unbeautiful. I'm sorry that you don't have a daughter who looks like you. But I said, I don't want you to worry about me because I'm smart. And I knew I was creative, and then I just went into that world.
What did Mom
and that's
say?
what saved me. She handled it very well, actually, but she dropped to her knees, and she put I'll never forget it, she put my face in her hands, and she said, you have no idea what God has given you.
Yeah.
And she said, I mean, she was like, not hysterical, but like
Emotional.
It hurt her.
I was going to say, you'd be kidding yourself if your mother wasn't crying in her bed,
She didn't
want you to know how upset. Like, Ella was bullied when we first moved to Long Island City, and Brian could see the where they would go out for recess from our window. And he watched one day as she walked up to a group of girls, and they shoved her and, like, turned their backs on her. And he's like, you don't even, I'm like, dude, I would never have stood in that. I would have been out the door, across. She was in second freaking grade.
They're brutal.
They are, but you know what the difference is? When you love your children, when you give your children love at home, they are so much better equipped to handle it.
Yeah.
She was so much stronger than I would have been.
Yeah.
I didn't have, my parents were divorced. I grew up in a volatile home. Like, I would never have handled it well.
Right.
But
She knew she could come home to you.
Yes. And I mean, it still hurt me.
Sure.
And I did talk to that girl's mom, the leader of that gang at some point, and it was just so funny to me.
Next time you got to bring me if that happens. I want to see that. I got to.
Well, I ended up
I don't want that to
graduating.
happen, but I got to see you in action.
I ended up graduating from high school 2 years early because I honestly, and that was when I was pretty at this point because I had discovered Dermablend. And the whole makeup thing always really bothered me. I'm like, it's and there's a song I'm actually working on about this. It's like, it's so much more than skin, and that can take whatever connotation you want to mean. The person, the soul underneath all of that is what matters.
Yeah.
And I understand sociopolitically and from a societal standpoint, that is not the world we live in, and I'm not an idiot. But I do think that we're going to have to get back to a point where it's like we're much more intuitive about what we're dealing with, and that's what I talk about all my art. Is an alchemy medium. It's about speaking to the person, not what they look like, not their socioeconomic background. I don't give a fuck. Some of my best friends are people that other people are like, she's weird. I'm like, she's awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You seem
She's
like
not
you're-
mainstream, but she's fucking awesome and has so much to offer.
You seem like you fight for the little guy or the perceived little guy or the
Totally.
person who
I get
feels
so
like the
mad.
little guy.
You Norma
get so
Ray.
mad.
Norma Ray, baby.
I get so pissed.
I
And
do too.
When I see, girls on the subway or whatever, young girls that are a little bit different or
Right.
are developing, or things like that, where I can see the behavior, like the I'm small behavior. I have said sometimes, I'm just like, I love your dress. And then the energy, I mean, it's only a kid, so it's like, you can't be psycho, but the energy I'm sending is like, fuck them.
Right.
Because I immediately, when I see a kid that's being bullied, I can feel it. It's like, they say this about abuse victims too, not to bring up a whole other topic, but they say that you recognize each other. There's like a signal that you send and you're like, oh, I feel you.
Yeah.
When I see especially girls that are being bullied, I can feel it.
Right.
And I totally stick up for them. I've taught little kids, and I will immediately go to the one that's the odd one out.
Right.
and I'll be like, I think that your turnout's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and you should see them. But anyway, that's what Unbeautiful is about what I went through. In fact, the last line of the song.
Yeah, give us some lyrics. Give us some.
Give us a song. Give us some
well, she's
tune.
going to give us a little bit of, yeah.
Come on, go for it.
The chorus is, you're unbeautiful, but you're free. You're unbeautiful, your face so unkind. You're unbeautiful, and you'll always be 2 steps ahead while this pretty falls behind, is the first chorus. And the last chorus is, you're unbeautiful, but you're free. You're unbeautiful, you don't have to hide. You're unbeautiful, when will you see? Beauty is the violence that you find. Because becoming beautiful was a very violent thing. It was violent emotionally, and it was violent from men.
Yeah.
It was violent from women, too. And still to this day, sometimes I'll get catcalled, and I hadn't seen my mother in a really long time when we were in LA, and she was like, you don't get it at all. Like, it's amazing. And she wasn't being rude. She was just like, you still are like 8 years old in that. Like, if I get catcalled, I'll like look around, like you're programmed. And I mean, I said that to myself.
Can I ask you a tough question? Is it better that way, or do you think it's better to be a part of the masses who do get it?
I actually do. Because the girls that I went to school with or that I did theater with that were like super gorgeous, and that was their whole thing. No disrespect, please. I'm not insulting anyone. As they age or move through different phases, I shouldn't say age. Let me take that back. As they move through different phases of their life and try to move forward artistically, they are very attached
to the old
identity-wise, and it's stopping their creativity. So, or they're confused about where they fit in the world emotionally, and I don't struggle with that because I focused very early on my creativity and my expression, and that's what keeps me going. You know, I could go back to, you know, I don't know, not being societally accepted and be okay, because that's not what my identity is.
As the only man in the room here, I'm trying to like
bring some penis to it.
A little penis to it. But as a dad and a man,
penis.
I'm trying to like connect with this. I read some. What did you just say?
You said little penis.
First of all,
I just said little penis.
why are you looking through my scroll on my phone? Okay. Okay. Why are you looking? No, but what I want to say is that I've been reading articles about this too, about like how you compliment your daughter and the things that you should say. And as much as I do want her to know that daddy thinks you're beautiful, and I tell her all the time, I also am very conscientious about complimenting other things about her that are about the effort she puts out, or like she's super observant. She notices
That's
little
really
details.
important.
You do.
So like I'm trying to get her to unfortunately not deal with some of that pain that you dealt with, but see the world in a more like what you do, who you are is the person that, you know, you is your best person, is the best self, not what you look like, not how you appear.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that's kind of what's coming out of your work now, is like you're trying to tell everyone from big, tall, you know, every size, every place, every shape. It's about who you are and what you have inside and what your story is. And you can get that from my music or my writing.
Yeah.
Well, and for girls, it's tough, too, because we get sexualized. I mean, I was flat-chested until I was a senior in high school. And I remember in 7th grade, all these girls had developed these large breasts. And this kid, Cardell Beecham, I will love him to the day I die, had not for this part of it. He had nicknamed their chests, and he had like cone titty and balloon boobies and all this.
He's not very creative.
No,
I have to say.
Well, he was in 9th grade, but he got this girl, Kim Boris. Sorry, Kim, but she had it out for me, and she turned and she said, "What do you call her?" And I was clearly flat chested,
Right.
and Cardell looked at me and he goes, "Short and sweet." And I was like, he could have ruined my life in that in that moment. I love him forever because he could have like stamped me with a terrible nickname, and he didn't.
And then look at how much she has changed from that up till now. That was the little penis retort.
No,
That's
it's
the
true.
Penis retort.
It's true because you said it before. Like,
No,
I suddenly got these rather large boobs, and I was in the mindset of the flat-chested.
You're hot.
But I was the flat-chested
and you
girl
are
still.
sweet and still smart and are large-breasted, but you're also short and
But
sweet and brilliant.
I had the mindset of the
You have a
flat-chested
good
girl.
heart.
Like, I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to go into our game, but everybody go and listen on January 14th, which maybe might have happened already.
Right, by the time this airs, right.
Listen to Unbeautiful because, I mean, it's amazing. Her music's amazing. She's got great message in there.
And we'll give out the socials on the website also. But let's get to the game real quick.
So the game is Tell Us a Storyteller. Since you're a storyteller, I looked up who the top storytellers in history.
Any kind of storyteller, okay?
All right, so
Not
I'm
just
going to
a writer.
describe, and you need to tell me who it is.
Okay.
Whether you're watching one of his films or visiting his theme parks, he told stories that transcended age to create experiences that immerse people in the fantastic.
Disney.
Thank you.
Very good, very good.
Go ahead.
One of the richest and most powerful men in the world. He got that way by never shying away from a conversation and an opportunity to tell stories about the remarkable moments of his life and the lives of others. He freely, is that a word? Freely shares what he thinks, what he has seen, and what he does, and that openness is reflected in his brand. He understands the power of nuance, even if it is not polished. That makes a story captivating, and he has his own airline. And
I knew it. Richard Branson.
There it is.
An English writer known for revolutionizing modern fiction and a major 20th century novelist, she was one of the foremost modernists. She believed that the stories of the 19th century were no longer suitable to the 20th century due to changes in society. Her novel, Mrs. Dalloway, was a turning point in her career. It was the first time where she used her whole female experience without any kind of inferiority complex to portray the innermost feelings of her characters.
Where did you get these breakdowns from?
I don't know, something. You know, I go on the
Who's
internet.
Afraid?
Virginia Woolf?
Yes.
There it is.
Yep.
All right, the last one is I'm
You
not
just
going to
give me,
read this.
you fed it to me. I could have figured it out on my
No, you
own.
This
didn't.
one's easy.
No.
You'll get this one.
This one, I'm not reading this. He has I named my car after this song. Okay. He was born. He was like born to run. You know, and he just was like mostly from
really?
the United
Do
States.
I have to say it out
And I
loud?
named my car Rosalita after
Do I
this
have
song,
to say it? I'm not going to
because
say it.
What we're all
That
on
is so obvious.
is a thunder road, even though the river was kind
I'm
of
not saying
based
it.
on
Okay.
his sister's story. Who is it?
I'm not saying it.
Okay.
Okay. So,
It's too easy. That's like
Billy Joel.
yeah.
Kidding.
Shannon,
Bruce Springsteen.
give your social handles.
At Savarre Official on Facebook, Twitter,
And
and
Savarre is
Instagram,
Savarre.
And then Velvet Moon Chronicles is at Velvet Moon XIII, as in Roman numeral 13. And the other book is at Know Your Mountains, and that's the same, all three social platforms.
Okay. And will you be touring to support this album?
Yes, in the spring, summer, we will do some EP stuff.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Check out the
In the
music.
works.
It's so good. I had it on playing yesterday. I was into
Thank
it.
you.
know, I'm really proud of you. It's really great work.
Yeah, no, and
Appreciate it.
it's
Thanks for
been
having
so
me on.
amazing to meet you and
You
hear your
too.
story. And honestly, like knowing what you went through and where you are now, like that makes my heart feel good.
So in that regard, please, anybody who has any comments or reviews or shares that they could do, please, give us a message on the website or on iTunes would be really great, or just send us an email, especially if you have another guest that maybe you could recommend to be on the show with us. We are at Jobs Blow Podcast, jobsblowpodcast.com. We record every week here at the Comic Strip Live. What's your social again?
Every Haas one.
All right. See how much more confidence it comes out now? I love it. I've been working with her on that. And I'm at Mr. Josh Hyman, MRJOSHHYMAN.
And please don't raise any bends, people.
No
Make sure
bends.
you're teaching your children to
What's
be
this
kind.
guy's name again that you liked?
Cardell.
Cardell. All right,
We
we're
want more Cardells.
more
in the world.
Cardells. We're gonna play some of Shannon's music on the way out. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
for
Thank
being
you.
here. Bye bye.